14 centuries ago, the Arabian Peninsula was home to a society operating on the absolute brink of total collapse. By the late 6th century, Mecca had evolved into a booming, strategic trade hub, positioned as the economic engine of the region. This map shows how trade routes from the Byzantine and Sassanid empires were forced into a single, inevitable crossroads. This economic boom centered on the Kaaba. While the structure was originally a site of monotheism, by this era it was physically crowded by 360 different idols, making the city the spiritual and financial heart of idol worship. But this massive external wealth was an illusion. Beneath the trade deals and pilgrims, Mecca was structurally bankrupt, creating a vacuum that only a systemic revolution could fill. History remembers this era as Jahiliyyah, the age of ignorance. Justice was a tribal commodity. Without a central law, society was governed by blood feuds and a cycle of ruthless retaliation that could last generations. The vulnerable lived in a state of constant exploitation. Widows and orphaned children were routinely stripped of their family inheritance, treated as mere property by the powerful. The darkest symptom of this rot was the burial of newborn daughters alive, a practice driven by the twisted logic of tribal pride and the fear of poverty. This pitch-black moral environment set the stage. The deeper the darkness of Mecca grew, the more visible the light of a new message would eventually become. In 571, a boy named Muhammad was born into this chaos, beginning a life defined by immediate and profound separation. Infants were often sent away from the city into these rugged desert mountains. Living in the open desert fostered physical resilience and the purest form of the Arabic language. Then came a devastating chain of personal loss. Muhammad's father died before he was born. His mother passed when he was 6, and his grandfather was gone by the time he was 8. The systematic removal of every earthly guardian left him without any human attachments to lean on, separating him from the tribal safety nets of Mecca. The boy who had buried his father, mother, and grandfather was now intimately familiar with the exact pain and isolation felt by the most vulnerable members of society. As he entered his youth, he chose a path of labor over the decadent gatherings and vices that defined his peers. He worked as a shepherd. Tending flocks in the desert plains required constant patience and responsibility, providing long nights for solitary reflection under the stars. Eventually, he joined the merchant caravans traveling to hubs like Damascus. These grueling journeys across the desert landscape expanded his reach far beyond the borders of his home. His conduct in these trade deals was so transparently honest that he earned a nickname used by everyone in the city, Al-Amin, the trustworthy. This reputation for integrity caught the attention of a wealthy merchant named Khadija. Recognizing his rare character, she took the unconventional step of proposing marriage herself. By age 25, his word had become his most valuable asset, creating a foundation of credibility that no one in Mecca could deny. At age 35, a tribal crisis broke out. The elders of Mecca were rebuilding the Kaaba, but the project had stalled at a critical flashpoint. Rival tribes had taken blood oaths and reached the brink of civil war, all over the honor of placing the sacred stone back into the wall. Muhammad solved the standoff by placing the stone on a cloth, allowing every tribal leader to lift a part of it together before he personally set it in place. Even with this immense public respect, the surrounding idol worship and moral decay began to feel suffocating. As he neared 40, he began to withdraw, seeking absolute silence in the cave of Hira on the heights of Mount Nur. This retreat offered the isolation he needed, a final period of quiet before the arrival of a message that would challenge everything Mecca believed. The turning point came in 610, on a quiet night in the month of Ramadan, known as Laylatul Qadr, the night of power. The deep silence of the dark cave was suddenly shattered by the overwhelming appearance of the angel Jibril. The encounter was overwhelmed to recite the first verses of a new faith. Those verses redefined the universe, stripping away the idols to reveal a single, generous creator who teaches humanity the things they do not know. Within minutes, the merchant from a city of idols became the messenger for a faith that would soon spread to every corner of the known world. His immediate reaction was terror. Muhammad fled the mountain in a state of shock, his heart pounding from an experience he couldn't yet explain. He didn't go to the tribal leaders or the public squares. He sought safety in the one place he was truly understood, with his wife, Khadija. Khadija immediately covered him, providing the physical and psychological comfort he needed to speak. She told him that a God of justice would never harm a man who was famous for his charity, his kindness to his family, and his absolute honesty. When his closest friend Abu Bakr heard the news, he accepted the claim of prophethood instantly. He didn't need a miracle. He already knew the man. The message of Islam found fertile ground in Mecca because the man delivering it had spent 40 years proving his word was unbreakable. His character was the strongest evidence for the truth he spoke.